Hello and welcome back to Music of Who, the series that aims to shine a light on the least documented corners of Doctor Who's soundtrack. First of all, a massive thank you to everyone who has watched, shared and engaged with the first 3 videos in this series, those looking at Graham, Ryan and Yaz's themes. If you haven't seen those yet, I'd highly recommend watching them before going any further. And if you're completely new to Music of Who, the series introduction video is also pretty essential viewing. Having covered the leitmotifs for the 13th Doctor's companions, I now plan to branch out further to other characters from the current era, with the view to perhaps providing overviews for whole episodes at some point in the future. First on the list is someone who was very nearly part of Team TARDIS, but alas, it was not to be. Yes, that's right, it's everyone's favourite frog-loving grandma, Grace. You might be thinking, but Richard, Grace is dead. How can a character who's dead have a theme? It's a fair point. Grace definitely does die in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I'm not denying that, but she does also cast a shadow across the whole of the 13th Doctor's debut season, and a handful of episodes beyond. And I'm not just talking about Sharon D. Clarke's surprise cameo appearances in Arachnids in the UK, It Takes You Away, and Can You Hear Me? But the moments her legacy is felt in other episodes, when she's not even on screen, like the Ghost Monument, Rosa, and the Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos, all of which are accompanied by the following leitmotif. It's an incredibly simple motif, just a few chords in fact, but immediately very sad and sorrowful. We can attribute this to the fact that it uses the notes of the Aeolian mode, or in other words, a natural minor scale, which is characterised by the unsharpened 7th, giving a very flat, sombre feel. The phrase is made up of 3 parts, the first beginning and ending on the 3rd of the chord, in this case a C, the second beginning and ending on the 5th of the chord, in this case an E, and the third beginning and ending on the tonic, in this case an A. One final thing to note is the range of notes used. In each case, the gap between the highest and lowest notes of each chord is over an octave. This causes the chords to feel very spaced, empty, and somewhat ghostly, especially when reverb-heavy synth sounds are used. The first time Grace's theme is heard is at the moment of her death. The chording here is exactly the same as that of my example from the introduction, albeit an octave higher, as is the key A minor. You can hear this version on the Series 11 soundtrack towards the end of the track, The Doctor. A quote from the beginning of the phrase, played at an even slower speed, is heard a couple of scenes later as the Doctor watches Ryan try to ride his bike again, and into the next scene set at Grace's funeral. This time we're in D minor. A near identical version of the first rendition is played in the Ghost Monument, as Graham has a man-to-man with Ryan.
I mean, just because all this is going on don't mean to say it didn't happen. You see, I cope myself by asking a question: if Grace was here, what would she say?
What do you reckon?
Well, right now she'd be going, what's the matter with you? You're on another planet, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is. Right. I'm going to look out for you, son.
I'm not a kid.
Okay.
It's back to D minor for the moment Graham realises that the atrocities on Desolation were caused by the same race that killed his wife.
My wife died because of that.
Mine too. I'm sorry. They took our planet, sent us into hiding, cleansed millions of us.
The variation played in Rosa, as Graham remembers Grace's Spirit of Rosa t-shirts, is also in D minor, with the middle part, the A, played an octave higher.
I wish that she was here.
I don't. She'd start a riot.
Right, Operation Rosa Parks.
Two versions of Grace's theme appear in Arachnids in the UK. Firstly, the beginning of the phrase is played as Graham prepares to return home, following the TARDIS's arrival in Sheffield, again in A minor. This time, the top part is played at a much lower pitch, on cello, with the other parts forming a descant over the top. Instead of resolving back onto the C, it goes down to the A, and finishes slightly later than the other parts, the lack of unity echoing Graham's unease at this point in the story.
I'd rather do it alone. Don't go without saying goodbye.
Tea at your houses. Never been for tea at your houses.
I can't believe you live here.
Anna!
I can see this block from the window.
The motif returns at the episode's end, as Graham glimpses his wife in the mirror. Once again, it's just a quote from the beginning of the phrase as opposed to the whole thing. The incompleteness of both these variations neatly reflects the idea that, as long as he's stuck in his house alone, Graham will be unable to put Grace's death behind him and move forwards. Grace's theme is used most prolifically by far in the final two stories of Series 11, It Takes You Away and the Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos, with 4 uses in the former and 5 in the latter. As the Doctor breaks it to Graham that the version of Grace's encounter in the Solartrack plane is not really her, a slow rendition of the chords is played, this time in C-sharp minor, and accompanied by a relentless, pulsating drone note. A near identical version, with some of the chords slightly out of sync, appears as the Doctor desperately tries to make Graham see sense back in Eric's house. The motif recurs in slightly modified form and accompanied by long, repeated string notes, as Graham finally accepts that this version of Grace is a fake. All 3 of these renditions can be found on the Series 11 soundtrack during the track Reverse the Polarity. The last use of Grace's theme in It Takes You Away comes right at the episode's end, as Ryan consoles Graham. Again, the key is C-sharp minor, with the chording identical to that of the very first rendition. This cue appears on the Series 11 soundtrack as part of the track Made a New Friend. In the Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos, we hear the motif played in B flat minor as the Doctor pleads with a vengeful Graham to not kill Tim Shah.
You're better than this. You are. You have to be. If you kill him, I can't have you travel with me. That's if you even live.
I understand.
No, you don't. We're gonna rescue hostages. Anything that compromises them is dangerous. And if you kill him, you become the same as him.
I ain't having that.
I'm serious, Graham.
So am I.
Well, that's all you remember?
It's back to D minor for the moment Ryan appeals to Graham to be the better man. This cue appears on the Series 11 soundtrack as part of the track The Shrine. All the remaining variations in the episode follow a similar template. Firstly, there's the moment Graham comes face to face with Tim Shah again, the only difference here being the additional pulsating semi-quaver bass line. Grace's theme is played again when Graham decides that he is the better man, before taking the opportunity to shoot Tim Shah as he's distracted by Ryan. On this occasion, the bass line comes in a bar later, bolstered by the blaring Stenza theme. Finally, a mournful, but somewhat cathartic rendition of the motif underscores the moment Ryan and Graham sentence Tim Shah to life, sealing him away in a stasis chamber for all eternity. Once again, the recording here matches that of the very first version, providing a neat parallel with the first episode to bring the series to a close. These three renditions form part of the track Keep Your Faith on the Series 11 soundtrack. Although it's predominantly associated with Series 11, Grace's theme continues to be used in a handful of episodes beyond. The first of these is Resolution, underscoring Graham's conversation with Aaron about why he missed his mother's funeral. You can hear this variation on the Series 11 soundtrack as part of the track Rebuilt. Next, a brief D minor version appears in Spyfall Part 1 as part of the reintroduction montage for the companions.
I was sorry to hear about your wife.
Yeah, thanks.
We will miss her. Right, I don't need to keep you any longer. Sign on there. Tick all the boxes, data protection.
Right.
Are you working?
No, travelling.
Last but not least, a particularly haunting C minor rendition is featured in Can You Hear Me, as Graham is reunited with his wife in a nightmare.
Grace.
I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. O'Brien. Your cancer's returned.
Well, no, that can't be right. I've had a checkup. Anyway, you're not my doctor.
This time it's very aggressive.
How long have I got?
Couple of hours.
This same cue is reused in The Haunting of Villa Diodati, in the admittedly slightly random scene of Ryan recalling being taught how to play the piano by Grace.
My nan taught me, but I always get the keys wrong. But she always said there's no reason not to try.
I should practice more, but I confess, I prefer to write. Even though my efforts are weak, I could never hope to match the achievements of my parents.
My nan would say stick with it. What's his problem?
So to recap, despite dying in the first episode of Series 11, Grace lives on through her theme. Her presence is felt in many subsequent episodes as she is grieved for by Graham and Ryan, with each fond moment of remembrance, each inherited wisdom, and each encounter with a vision, phantom or fake drawn together musically by those simple yet haunting chords. It's the glue that holds Series 11 together, especially as it hurtles towards its climax. The brief reprises in Series 12 a mark of the enduring legacy of this extraordinary character. Thanks a lot for watching this episode of Music of Who. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're new to my channel, please make sure you subscribe. I look forward to seeing you again for the next one.